Here to respond to Congressman King is Representative André Carson. He is one of the only two Muslim congressmen now in the House of Representatives. Congressman, thank you very much for coming on board. You heard Congressman King. I hope you could have. Did you hear him? Was it okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Geraldo.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. Why don't you give us your general response, and I'll ask you some questions.
Well, I'm deeply troubled and saddened by the nature of these hearings given by my dear colleague, Peter King. I don't think that Chairman King is a bad human being. I think he is, in fact, misguided. There are numerous cases in our country, Geraldo, of so-called pastors, priests, rabbis, imams, yogis, and spiritual teachers who have manipulated their congregations, who have dealt in a great deal of spiritual abuse, and in the worst case scenarios, even suicide. So I don't think that Islam has exclusivity rights on bad behavior, but I do think we need to broaden the spectrum in terms of investigating terrorism, and we need to start with neo-Nazi activity. We need to start with anti-immigration groups. We need to start with the Ku Klux Klan before we single out so-called Islamic jihadists. That is important. It is critical that we look at and isolate the threat, but we have to move forward and look at all forms of terrorism.
Congressman, you know where I stand. I feel as you do. But
Yes.
Peter King represents my hometown district. I actually went to high school in his district. My dad owned the diner down the block. He's a wonderful, charismatic guy, and I really, in many ways, like him very, very much. And he has a real fear that I think many, many people watching this program right now share. And that is, and they hear crazy statistics, that there is a radicalization process going on, and that too many imams here in the States can't draw or don't draw the distinction between their religious pursuits and their political goals. What say you?
Well, I think that there are a few people who are actively recruiting within mosques in this country, but there are far too few. I can say personally, as someone who worked in Homeland Security and counterterrorism and in intelligence, that there are many Muslims like myself who are on the front lines helping to thwart terroristic activities. Those very few imams must be monitored. They must be dealt with appropriately and brought to justice. However, as I travel this country, there are too many imams who love this country. In fact, Geraldo, there are many Muslims, millions of Muslims, who are making positive contributions to our country. Go to any major hospital in this country, Geraldo, and you'll find Muslim physicians. Given our economic downturn, there are Muslim businessmen and women who are putting Americans back to work. We're making positive changes in this country. I just hope that these hearings don't exacerbate existing tensions and hostilities.
Congressman André Carson, thank you. Mate, I appreciate your coming on board.
Thank you, friend.